I'm Rohit. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Stealth, and today we have with us Rabi. And Rabi is a serial entrepreneur. He started, his first company was iCouch, based in India, and which was a mobile app for TV channels and had more than 2 million monthly active users. That was back in 2013.
Yeah.
2013, yeah. And it was eventually then acquired by this company called Viduli a couple of years later.
Yeah.
And then he started his second company called Eva, which is an AI-powered chatbot that helps you thank, reward, and incentivize using personalized gifts. Eva has raised money from top-tier VCs like Bloomberg Beta, Precursor Ventures, and Boost VC, right? And you've been doing it for the past 2 years now.
Yeah.
Cool. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to our conversation today. I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Let's start with your initial background in India. You started this company in 2013. I think not a lot of people were starting companies back then. How did the idea for starting company came about, and how did you start iCouch?
Yeah, I actually started my first company. iCouch was renamed from iDabba.
Okay.
So it was in 2012 when we started this company. Actually 2011, 2012 when we were looking for ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Before that I was working for a company, but then I had this idea that I want to start an internet company.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking for multiple products, and especially in the US, and what we could build in India. And we realized that the TV space in India, there was no innovation as such. Even during 2012, 2013, we were still watching through regular cable TV,
right.
Not even like dish TV or
right.
satellite TV.
Right. Forget about YouTube.
Yeah, forget about YouTube. So it was really hard to kind of discover your favorite shows.
Right.
So we first built a recommendation engine which would recommend you or alert you about your favorite TV shows whenever they were coming on different channels. So like TiVo, but we were using SMS and intelligent kind of TV guide to do that.
Got it.
But then we pivoted to more of a social platform, which was like Twitter, but only for TV. It was like, we used to work with TV channels like Z Cafe, ZTV, and other channels where we used to run live chat rooms during live programs. So if there is say a reality TV show which is coming up, then people could just log into that app and start chatting with other people watching the same show. And then some of the top chats would be picked up by the TV channel and shown live on screen. So that was very popular. I mean, and that's how we got a lot of users within like a small time frame. And then we started working with almost all TV channels in India. And we also started powering a lot of these TV apps with more of a social angle. So all these TV channels, we're using our platform to kind of build that social angle into their apps.
And so you started in 2011, 2012. In 2013, it became iCouch.
Yeah.
So the final social network angle was added at that time. What about the internet? The internet speed wasn't that fast in India, maybe in 2013. Did you sort of envision that internet is going to get faster, or people will do this, or younger people will do this at home? What were your thoughts around that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So during that time, people had good Wi-Fi at home, but of course the mobile phone, there was no 4G or even 3G. As far as I remember, it was just 2G, and like some of the networks had 3G at that time. And that's why this idea that people, when they are at home, they will have Wi-Fi, and of course we couldn't. There were a lot of challenges with streaming at that time, so we were not streaming anything on the app. It was like you watch on TV and then you chat like Twitter on the phone, which was still easier to do versus actually streaming TV shows. At that point, no one was even thinking about streaming shows on the app.
Right.
Yeah.
And the primary platform was Android.
Yeah, primary was Android, but we were on iOS, but primarily it was Android.
Okay, and as you were sort of thinking about around that time, like scaling or customer acquisition, what did you? Because I'm just fascinated by acquiring customers for a TV app in 2013 in India.
Yeah.
People watching Kyoki Saas Bhi Kahi Hoti. I don't know if it was around, but whatever channels they are watching or whatever shows they are watching, how would you go about acquiring those people? Were the TV channels marketing you? Were you going on Facebook or what did you actually do?
Yeah, so I mean, we did a lot of hacks, of course, because during those days there were no platforms where you could just put money and get a lot of users.
Mm-hmm.
Even Facebook was not great at kind of acquiring users for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did, we actually did a lot of small things. For example, when we launched iDubbbA, which was more about getting alerts around your favorite TV shows. During that, we also launched a lot of things like IPL alerts. For example, during IPL, you can subscribe to alerts like whenever Sachin comes to bat, send me an alert so that during the match, you can get the alert and just switch on your TV and start watching.
Right.
So we did a lot of things like that, and during those events, we acquired a lot of customers.
Mm-hmm.
So we already have more than 50,000 customers by the time we moved from iDubbbA to iCouch.
Mm-hmm.
And when we moved to iCouch, the whole idea was we will start with working with TV channels,
Mm-hmm.
so that if they want their audience on our platform, they have to promote it.
Got it.
And because they were also showing it on screen, they had to say that, hey, download iCouch app to connect with your fellow TV viewers and watch this show along with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave us huge boost.
Got it. And just how many people were you by the time you were sold?
We were 20 people.
20 people. Now, so you sold at 20 people. I'm just curious now, going back to when you started, what did your parents say? I completely forgot about that. Like back in 2011, if you're doing a startup, your parents would like, what is my son doing? He's left his job and he's become basically he's no good to the society now.
Yeah, so fortunately my dad is like very supportive, has always been very supportive. But of course, the decision of leaving the job to start this was kind of very alien.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially our parents, where they came from like really poor backgrounds, and they just did one job in their lives. So they're like, if you get a job, like your life should be set. That's it. You shouldn't do anything else.
Right.
So it took a lot of convincing. Especially, he was convinced at a point where there were a lot of investors who were interested in our company. Although there were not many investors in India at that time, but there were some good startup accelerators, and my dad actually spoke with some of them. And then
before he allowed you to.
Before he was like, I am convinced that you're doing something which is which I will allow you to do. So yeah, that all those things took some convincing, but yeah, it was not very hard for me. It took like 6 to 7 months.
Mm-hmm. And you were working full time
at
that time. Did you start looking for ideas after you quit your job, or were you looking for ideas when you were?
No, so I started looking for ideas when I was in college.
Okay.
So in college, I and Satvik, who is now my other co-founder, we were discussing a lot of ideas. But interestingly, we both went into jobs, and then I quit my job first and started this company. He was still working. And when I started the second company, he decided to quit his job after like, I think 7-8 years to join my company.
Got it. Interesting. And how was that convincing us? How did you convince Satvik to actually quit his job after 7 or 8 years to actually?
Yeah, I just told him we'll build this company from the US. Okay, I'm in.
Was he married back then, or?
Yeah, for him it was a difficult decision because he was married and he was going to have a kid very soon. So he knew all of that, and despite that, he decided to leave the job and join us.
Okay, so this is the second company, but in the first one, you convinced your parents, you started the company, you actually built it and then sold it, which is a very low probability event.
Yeah.
Given that it is also India, not a lot of M&A activity, people don't know startups, so that's something very unique for that time, which is 3 or 4 years ago. And then you, even after you sold the company, you did not go work for too long for that company, or didn't go work at a VC firm or join another startup. You started another company. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so when we were actually exploring what to do with the previous company, it was growing well, but then the challenge was after learning it the hard way, we realized that the market is not huge, and especially even the companies in the US in TV industry space, they all got killed, mostly because it's very hard. I mean, the TV industry, they control the content, they control a lot of things. So they could just say one comment on Google, and Google will ban your app from the Play Store. Okay. So there are a lot of restrictions around what you can show, what you can't do, and so we realized it after working with them for like 2 years. At that point, I was looking at other, what to do with the company. So I came here, explored a bit in 2015, and then I realized that every other company similar to us in India here, was not doing well. So that's why I went back and decided to shut down the company. But then we also talked to other, possible, people, companies who could acquire us. Viduli was interested because we had a lot of relationships with TV channels, and our product had a lot of users. So that's why, and they were kind of looking into this whole, this space where, TV channels are working with a lot of app makers.
Right.
So they got excited, and then we decided to kind of just sell them. And the other thing was we wanted to do something else, and we were very clear about it from the start. So we just decided to kind of sell the company and start working on a new idea.
Got it. And so the new company that you started is Eva.
Yeah.
And when did you actually start Eva when you were in India, or did you move to the US and then start the company?
So we had the idea that we'll start something because we were working a lot in video space. We thought we'll do something in the video space. So we had this cool video discovery app which we built in India, and then I came here to kind of see if that had any potential. So when I first came to the US, that was the app which I had, and then I stayed in a lot of Airbnbs, and I was just showing it to people.
Right. And was it in the Bay Area?
Yeah, okay. I was living in Foster City.
Okay.
So there was this big Airbnb, used to get like 8 to 10 hosts every week. So I got a lot of opportunity to talk to new people and show them what we were trying to do.
Were you in San Francisco the whole time, or were you?
Yeah, I was going to a lot of events.
Okay.
Yeah, but I soon realized that here there were so many video apps, including Snapchat, which was not popular in India. So I didn't know that there are like very cool video apps which are so popular. So when I saw that, and a lot of the feedback was like, this product is cool, but then video is going to get killed by either Snapchat or Facebook. And then at that time there was Meerkat and Periscope. So there were a lot of video apps.
This is in 2015.
Yeah, okay. 2015. Yeah, when we were just exploring what to do next. So the challenge was, we realized that this idea might not work. So we started exploring more ideas. But while I was doing that, I realized that for me the biggest challenge was not to build a product, because we had a good team, we had built products before. So if we can probably try 10 or 12 ideas, right? That's not a challenge, but the challenge is, number one, how are we going to sustain sustain ourselves for next 6 to 8 months while we try all these ideas? And number two, if I have to build something here, I have to build a network.
Right.
And knowing no one here was like a big challenge, because how you actually, and there are so many startups that it's so competitive. In India, you can still reach out to all the investors or potential people you want to hire in a sort of easy way. It's not that hard because there's still less competition. Here, there are so many people from different countries, so it was very, very hard for us to kind of figure that out.
So let me just like dig a little deeper on that. So you moved here in 2015. You were trying to figure out what you should do with the app, and during that time, you're going to a lot of networking events.
Yeah.
And trying to connect with people and also investors.
Yeah, so I was meeting investors during events.
Okay.
And I was also trying to meet investors in India for my video app.
Got it.
And through them, some investors here. But then the biggest realization was that this idea is not worth exploring because we might, this is like a very competitive space.
Mm-hmm.
Then I, went back to India, and then we were kind of discussing what to do next. So before coming to US again in 2016, we decided that let's start exploring more ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest challenge which I faced here was networking. So
Mm-hmm.
it was in our mind that we will do something related to networking.
Okay.
But what we didn't know.
Okay.
So I just came here in 2016,
Right.
just like that.
And what type of visa were you on at that time?
Business visa. Yeah.
Business visa. So you came to the US. You want to do something in the startup space. And you were like, not video because that's going to be killed by Facebook or Snapchat or Snap. And so you decided you want to do something in networking because that's a challenge you faced when you came here in 2015. How did you navigate the initial few months of 2016 as you were looking for an idea?
Yeah, so 2016, I actually came here in March 2016. The thing is, the good thing which happened between this was when I came to the US in 2015, I stayed here for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But then I wrote my whole experience about the difference in the ecosystem between India and Silicon Valley, and how we kind of tried to navigate the whole situation and also built a product and got good feedback on it. So I wrote a story on Medium, and then it got picked up by a lot of good blog posts in India. A lot of people read that, and I got some inbound interest from angel investors here in Silicon Valley. So when I went back to India, I knew that there are people here who want to invest just because of who I am and the story, not in any idea.
Right.
So when I came here, the first thing I did was closed a small round of funding.
Okay.
It was very very less, like 70K, but it was
Okay.
pretty good for us because we were coming from India.
And what year? So was it March 2016 or a few months later?
So I came here in March 2016, and then we were able to close the round in April. 2016, yeah.
And where was the company registered? Or did they write you a check and you didn't have a company account?
So we registered the company in the US.
Okay, so in Delaware,
Yeah.
C Corp normal.
Yeah, so we had a lot of good advice while I was doing all of this, that
Mhm.
you should register the company first
Mm-hmm.
before moving, so that whenever someone is writing you a check, you have a company and all those things
Right.
in place.
Right, and then you also had a company bank account?
Yes.
Or, okay, to deposit the checks.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just like get checks and they don't have like company bank accounts to put in.
Yeah, fortunately we had a company before this, so we knew.
Okay.
And especially if you come from India, you know that all these things take time.
Right.
And when you come here and things don't take time, you suddenly have everything.
Right.
Within few weeks.
Right. Okay. So you came here in. So you came here in 2015, and then you wrote about that experience, and that got you some press, and investors got interested. So when they wrote you 70K checks, but when they were writing those checks, what did you tell them? What are you gonna work on, or did you tell them any idea, any?
Yeah, I showed them the video app.
Okay.
And most of them were like, we like you, and this product looks good, and your story is interesting. So I'm investing in you.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so they invested 70K in the video app.
Yeah.
Initially, okay, and so when you took that 70K and you then sort of sold or shut down the video app.
No, so they actually invested in our new video idea.
Okay.
The original iCouch idea, we
Okay.
actually had decided to.
Oh, so this was
the
the video, the new one, the second
new video app. Yeah,
and
more like video sharing, social sharing.
right. How long did that last for?
It was just like 3-4 months.
3-4
Yeah.
months. Okay. And so you are here on a business visa, and then Eva is like even after that.
Yes.
Eva is like a few months in like July 2016.
Yeah. So during like May, June, during this time we were just exploring what to do. We had some cash.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a lot, but we had something. So
And this time, just to clarify, Satvik is not with you at this
so
time.
Satvik came.
Okay.
Actually, Satvik came after we got the money.
Okay.
So he came in 20.
Only after you got the
Yeah.
money. Okay.
So, yeah, because I mean, it was hard for two people to like come to Silicon Valley and survive.
Right.
So he came here in April. I came here in March 2016,
Mhm.
and then we were exploring a lot of ideas, and gifting was one of the ideas because we were like, okay, we want to build something related to like interpersonal relationships, and then gifting is like a critical piece of it. But then gifting, the whole space hasn't been disrupted.
Right.
So we kind of became very obsessed with the idea of gifting.
Right.
And then when we talked to people about disrupting video space versus disrupting gifting space, this was more exciting because video was already getting disrupted by so many people and so many companies.
Right. And also required like large distribution in there. So Snap and Facebook, already have that distribution.
Yeah.
So you decided that you're going to do something in the gifting space, and I think there have been other companies like Gift that was like online gift cards. You can send someone a gift card, something like that. So how did you sort of navigate to Eva's current version of the product?
Yeah. So our story is like very different because we were looking, so the pain point which we faced was, for example, I met you at an event, and after the event I want to build a relationship with you, right? So after the event I want to send you, say, a thank you gift, right? Now my challenge is I cannot send you a gift card. Gift card feels too impersonal, right? And ideally I want to give you something which you like, right? So we came up with the idea that, hey, in Silicon Valley people have very different tastes for different things.
Really different tastes.
Very different tastes for like, so even if you look at coffee, people will be drinking different coffees.
Right.
In India there is just one coffee.
Right. It's coffee.
So I was like, if I want to give you coffee as a gift, I first need to understand what type of coffee you like.
Right.
Whether you like Starbucks, Blue Bottle or Fizz or some other brand.
Right.
And then how do you like your coffee, with milk, without milk, with sugar, what, right?
Yeah, and it's just to let's sort of draw an analogy, like also in the US there are like a lot of the coffee culture is bigger than in India. It's similar to music. There are a lot of smaller bands and people like love their local bands and they know all the music from those local bands. In India, Bollywood music is usually the most popular one, and people just know that there is nothing like very local about it. So in the US, people have very specific tastes in certain areas, especially in Silicon Valley. People are really obsessed with some of their products, coffee being one of them.
Yeah, right. And so the whole idea was, I know that anyone would either drink coffee, tea, beer, or wine.
Okay.
Everyone is going to drink either one of these things, right? So let's just start with, gifting personalized coffees, beers, and wines to people I'm meeting with. So the idea was simple. Initially, I used to meet people, and then the next day, we actually got a new mobile number, and then I used to text people with that mobile number saying that I am Rabi's gifting assistant, and like not gifting assistant, but just assistant.
Okay.
And then I used to text saying that, hey, you just met Rabi yesterday, and he wishes to thank you for the advice you gave, and he also wants to give you a coffee as a gift.
Right.
What type of coffee you prefer? And I was not expecting any reply, right? But the trick that I was not, asking questions as Rabi, but as assistant of Rabi, was very different, because in that scenario, most of the people thought that I'm not a real assistant. I'm a bot.
Right.
And almost
it's funny, like it usually happens the other way. There is an actual person behind it. Like people claim that there is someone behind it and that it's a bot, but there is someone else behind it. And in your case, it was the opposite.
The opposite. Even if they thought that maybe there is some person behind it, they thought that I'm using a service.
Got it. Okay.
Versus, I'm personally chatting. So they thought that this person is, of course, he will not have an assistant, so he's using a service. to do this, so let me just reply.
Right.
So all these people replied, and then they start chatting with us, giving us all the answers like, oh, I like this coffee, I like that coffee, this is my address, I'm free tomorrow between 10 to 11. And then I used to go buy that coffee and then run to the person and give it to the person.
Right.
And then they were surprised. They were like, oh, it's you who is coming with the coffee.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. And what made you answer all the questions?
Right.
And they all said, I didn't know that it was you. I thought it was a bot. And so this whole idea that came around that time was, we as humans, we are more comfortable sharing our desires with machines or bots versus other humans. And especially in scenarios like this, where it's a very awkward conversation. So the idea that, I was able to give someone something personal, personalized without knowing the person, right, using a machine or a bot, was very exciting. So we did this with like 100 people from from June till say September.
Right.
We did this with a lot of people, and then, I actually gifted to Adam Draper from Boost VC, and then he was like, hey, why don't you join our next batch? So they were like the first real investors who came for EvaBot.
Got it.
And then of course there were a lot of people who got gifts from us. We're like, if you're starting this company, we also want to use your product.
Right.
And that's how we got some initial customers, who started testing the product.
Got it. Cool. So you got your first money from Adam, and it's an incubator program, like Y Combinator or something else. How were the first few meetings with Adam? It's just like, how did your product ended up in his hands? Like, that's one, and how did the meeting go with him when he invited you to join their program?
Yeah. So interestingly, we were getting a lot of new connections through our product itself.
Okay.
So when we started doing this, at that time, chatbots were really popular or getting popular. So there were a lot of communities around chatbots.
Right. No,
So
it's actually true, because we were in YC 2016, and I think a big part of our batch was a lot of chatbots.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So everyone was thinking that chatbots is the next big thing.
Right.
Whether it happens or not, no one knows. But it worked really well for us, because at that point, at least everyone had that concept that, oh, there's a chatbot and people can use chatbot for multiple use cases.
Right.
And people really loved our use case, because in our case, chatbot is not the product.
Right.
Chatbot basically just facilitates a big service, right? And the biggest challenge in gifting is to understand what other person likes or prefers,
Right.
and actually automating that process to make it scalable.
Right.
So when we did that, we so Matt List, who used to run Chatbots magazine, he got a gift from someone, and he loved the experience. Then he sent a gift to Brayton at Boost VC.
Okay.
And then he loved the experience, and then he was like, oh, we are going to start a new batch, would you like to come and meet Adam?
Right.
And then I sent a gift to Adam, and he was like, oh, this is amazing.
Right.
And I think I gave a wine to Adam.
Got it.
So the next day when we met, he was like, you're in the program, we love the concept and the product, and whenever the next batch starts, you guys can join.
Right. So you, just to clarify, so you sent a gift to Adam, and he accepted it. He went through the whole flow and actually got himself a wine from you.
Yeah.
So you meet him just like soon after, and he says you're in the program.
Yeah.
So just like, didn't have any other meeting, didn't ask you about the team or anything else.
Yeah. So we of course met. So when I was giving him the gift, we met, we talked for like 30-40 minutes.
Got it.
Yeah, and then during that discussion, he asked about our team, what we have been doing, and he loved the story.
And how many people were there in the team at that time?
So we were four, we are four co-founders.
Okay.
So 4 of us were there in the team, but 2 of us were, of course, in India, and 2 of us were here.
Got it. So you are now in the Boost VC program. Give us a sense of how long it lasts. What did you actually do there? How did it help you?
So Boost was actually really helpful. We couldn't have done this without their help, because not just the accelerator program, they have this huge space. One, where we can work. The other is where we can live. Right. So this whole Draper University,
right,
they provide you stay for 3 to 4 months as well.
For free.
for free.
Interesting.
So that was like good money saving, and
Right.
and so also when we started working out of Boost VC, we during holidays in 2016 when we really launched the product, we needed a lot of space.
Right.
And the good thing was the whole incubator was empty in
Right.
December,
Right.
and we had the whole space to us, and we were able to ship a lot of gifts from Boost VC office because of that.
Right.
And then later I also became an EIR at Boost VC, so I got my stay extended for 6 more months.
Okay.
So I actually got like full 1 year stay at Draper University for free.
Founder money saving hacks.
So we got to do this,
Okay.
and I think Boost was really helpful. They also helped us kind of understand our initial market, also figure out the business model, the product market fit, all those things. So
Got
they
it.
helped us a lot with that.
So this was in like late 2016, right?
Yeah, this was end of 2016, correct.
And by the time you graduated from Boost VC, were you still 4 people, or had you grown the team?
We were still 4 people, but the biggest change which we did was we had some contractors who were, we used to call them happiness agents.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started, it was still the same model, which was hand deliveries of coffees, beers, and wines.
Mm-hmm.
But by December 2016, we realized that this is not going to scale.
Mm-hmm.
And with holiday gifting coming up, we wanted to switch to a shipping model, not like hand delivery model.
Got it.
So we got rid of all these contractors, but then we had to kind of work around the model. What would the model be? How to make the gift more delightful and surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So we came up with the idea of more like reverse Birchbox,
Mm-hmm.
where we started working with all these cool product companies who were looking to reach out to the target audience, right?
Mhm.
So all these cool food tech D2C brands, or even like Indiegogo and Kickstarter projects,
Mm-hmm.
all these new products are always looking for new customers, and we became a good channel for them to kind of channel their product to the right person.
Right.
So someone who prefers coffee
Right.
and is tech savvy, right, has a pet,
Right.
we know what gift to give, and we
Right.
will go to partners who want their product to go in the gift box.
Got it.
So we came up with this model where it works for both of us.
Interesting. I actually didn't know that the initial model was a person hand delivering the gift. I always saw the photos and the videos of a gift being shipped.
Right.
So that's interesting. And how did you work on the AI or machine learning aspect of it, or building a chatbot itself over these months? Who took care of that? How did you actually ended up developing it?
Yeah, so initially when we started, we knew that we don't have the data to build like real models or machine learning. So we were just relying on basic facts that we need to start collecting this data, and then we will use some feedback and some insights from the gifting which we are doing to understand what is the right gift. So initially it was just about collecting data versus using the data to do anything else. So the chatbot was actually able to collect a lot of data around a person's taste, and then when we used to ship the gift, we take feedback, and then from the feedback we get to know whether the person likes this gift or not, and then we feed this whole data into a system which then starts recommending better products.
Got it. And I'm sure you are still building that, and as you get more data, it's gonna get better. When did you, in all of this process of building the product and going through an accelerator, when did you raise your first round?
So we raised our first, so after Boost VC, we did raise some, more institutional funding, but not like from a proper VC, more like micro VCs and pre-seed funds. So we raised about like 400K. So between 2016 to 2017. So December 2017 we raised our first round from Bloomberg Data and Precursor Ventures.
Okay, so that was the first full
seed round.
Seed round. Okay, so as you were sort of building the product over the year from December 2016 to December 2017, what were the milestones, or what were the what were the things that you were trying to prove so you can actually raise a big round from an institutional VC?
So mostly product market fit. So we knew that the pain is large because everyone was facing the same, like we all face same challenges when we want to gift someone. Initially, the whole thing was figuring out, should we do consumer, should we do prosumer, should we do enterprise, because everyone does gifting, and then and everywhere you will find competition, right? Even in consumer gifting, there are so many ways to do gifting, including gift cards, right? In business gifting, there are large teams within organizations who are doing this. So I think the first year was mostly about, okay, the product works well and people like the product and they like it so much that they share and then they also sign up. So there was a virality in the product from day one, and because of that virality we were getting some customers automatically.
Right.
But we hadn't refined our audience. Who is the right audience to go after during phase one and kind of dominate the market and then go to a different market. So that's where we took a lot of time during first year to understand. And then by end of 2017 we had almost decided to go after real estate agents and mortgage companies, loan companies,
right,
because they were naturally using our product and they had a very good repeat behavior. So we started working with them. So by the time we raised from institutional VCs, we had very good idea about the product market fit in a certain industry for certain use cases.
Got it. So in December 2017, you raised your first institutional round of funding. And that time, how many people are you?
So we have always been a very small team.
Okay.
We're still like 7 full-time people. At that time, we were 5 full-time people.
Got it. And a team based in India and the US?
So when we started, yes, it was based out of India and US, but eventually everyone moved. Half of the team right now is in US, half of the team is in Calgary, Canada.
Calgary, Canada. How did you decide of all the possible places Calgary, Canada?
So we had to move because we were facing a lot of time zone issues. Of course, we could have always built a tech team in India, but because we were a very small team and there were just 2 people, my CTO and 1 engineer, we realized that it's very hard, once you get customer feedback or there's a problem, the support needs to be instant. The support cannot happen after 12 hours. Right? So we eventually decided that because it's still a small team, you guys should move so that, when we start building a bigger team, it starts from, a different location.
Right.
So why we decided to move to Calgary is because 2 of the other co-founders, one of the co-founders, he had some relatives in Calgary, and he said, I'm more comfortable moving. And also Calgary has a similar time zone and very closer to Silicon Valley than say Toronto or something.
Right. Toronto is on the east coast, so it's 3 hours ahead.
Right.
Calgary is on closer to west coast.
Yeah.
So it's
and Vancouver is very expensive. So
got it. And your some team members knew people already in Calgary, so it worked out well.
Yeah. Also, the Canadian immigration is much easier than US immigration.
Got it. So have you registered a company there, and do they work for? Okay.
It's a subsidiary there in Canada.
Okay. How was that process? That's the first one I have heard someone registering a company.
So we have the main company registered here, but then we have subsidiaries in India and Calgary.
Okay.
And these people are now transferred from Indian subsidiary to the Canadian subsidiary. So we cannot really shut down the Indian subsidiary.
Okay, that's a very new way that I've seen. Usually people have employees in India and US, and that's pretty much it. Employees in some other country and the US.
Yeah, we just wanted to do all the hard things.
In addition to doing a startup. What most people don't realize is as you sort of move between sort of countries, you have to figure out these things. These are some additional challenges that founders used to. So now the whole team is in the same time zone, but it's still remote.
Yeah.
Right. Is there do you guys do anything special to make sure everyone is on the same page and things are going well. There's good communication. How do you manage a remote team, even though you are in the same time zone?
Yeah, I think it's because we all knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
We have known each other for long. So at least between co-founders, there is no miscommunication. But then there's a team in Calgary and there's a team here. So we do regular calls, video calls, to discuss projects. Because we are still mostly a product company,
right.
And we need to keep building products.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of internal discussion in terms of what next to build, and then we manage timelines using Asana and do regular video calls.
Got it. Using Zoom.
Zoom or Hangouts.
Okay. now the world is moving to Zoom then. Cool. So now I think things are going well. I hear multiple people using EvaBot. I think my co-founder just found out from someone else that they got a gift from your company.
Yeah, we have shipped more than 20,000 gifts. So.
Okay, that's awesome. So as things are going up, in terms of if you go back to like initial challenges that you faced and how you navigated the sort of the visa the visa problems to actually make it happen, because you didn't go to the school here, so it's not H1B or F1 or any of those things. How did you navigate the visa situations to allow you to actually do and reach here and raise money from institutional investors?
Yeah, so I think when I first came here, I didn't have any plans of like staying here or working from here or building a company here. So I just came here and then I loved Silicon Valley. I was like, this is an amazing place,
right?
And maybe I always wanted to be here.
Right.
So when we launched the product and started getting good, we started getting good traction and also getting good support from people. So one thing which I realized why most companies are able to survive here and become big is because of this whole ecosystem, which is very supportive. Of course, it is hard because there are so many companies and so many people. But then still you'll find someone who will always support you, and then you can use that to keep building the company. So when I first came here, it was still like business visa. I stayed here first for like 6 months, which is the limit, and then I came again like in 2016 March. At that time also I was on business visa. I stayed for 6 months, but then I applied for an extension so that I got 2 more months. Between that period, I applied for my O1, and then I got my O1 visa, and then I went back to India.
So O1 visa is the extraordinary ability visa that you can get if you have done something extraordinary, and you just prove it to the government that you have actually you are doing better than your peers at a high level.
Yeah.
And how was the O1 process for you? How long did it take? Like any high level costs?
Yeah, so when I first came here, I didn't know that there are so many different visa options. I always thought there's just 1 or 2 options. When I talked to the lawyers, they said there are other options as well. So in 2016, actually Obama was coming up with this startup visa thing.
Right.
But when when like Trump came, that policy was also shut down. So I was talking to my lawyer, and she said, since you have built a company in India before and you have a lot of press in India, it shouldn't be hard.
Okay.
So the whole process for me, the whole challenging thing is collecting all the evidence and documents. So it took like 2 to 3 months. But because of the premium processing, it happens pretty fast. Within 2 weeks, you can get the visa.
Got it. Cool. And on O1, O1 is sponsored by your company, and you can work for your company. So until EvaBot exists, which is hopefully 100 years in the future, you have your O1 visa and you can indefinitely renew it.
Yeah. And then I also applied for my green card. So EB1, I got the approval.
Okay.
So we just need to wait.
Congrats. Yeah. So pretty soon you will have your green card and then things. Then there won't be any problems.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. Cool. So you got your O1. Any other important learnings you had sort of moving to the Valley from India? And just to add more context, where in India did you start your company?
From Delhi.
From Delhi, not even Bangalore.
No.
Okay. Okay, cool. So moving from like Delhi to Silicon Valley and like doing a company here, raising from money from institutional investors. What are some of the things that you learned along the way?
So yeah, there are a lot of learnings. I mean, the biggest difference, of course, is the ecosystem and how it helps.
Mm-hmm.
And also because of the ecosystem, you're able to iterate much faster,
Mm-hmm.
and you're able to get feedback much faster. So to improve or whether this idea will work or not, you get very good feedback very quickly. So that's, I think, one of the biggest advantages of this place is
Mm-hmm.
there are so many people who can give you feedback. Even like someone's mom or grandmom will give you feedback on the product, which is not
Right.
possible in India.
Right.
So I think that accelerates the whole process of learning and building something. Of course, it is. We have faced a lot of challenges because it's also very hard. I mean, it's not easy just to come here and build something and get money and then
Right.
you're done. Because you don't know people,
Right.
it takes a lot of time to build that trust.
One thing I'm curious about, so you are also married,
Yeah.
and Satvik was about to have a kid. How did you convince your wives to actually move to the US with you, even when you didn't have enough money?
Yeah, so Satvik has a different story because he was married for like I think 6-7 years before he decided to move. And in his case, I think it was his in-laws who were more supportive than his own parents.
Okay.
Which was good for
Yeah,
him.
that was pretty good for him, yeah.
So,
Lucky.
Yeah, lucky for him. And then in my case, I actually got married after starting this company in the US. So
Okay.
I started the company, but it was during Boost VC period when I found my wife online.
Hmm.
And then we started chatting, and then we liked what each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of discussion, and I told her clearly what I was doing, and
And was she originally based in India, or was
Yeah.
she already? Oh, she was in India.
she was in India. She was working, and I was kind of telling her that okay, I am doing this startup. We don't have a lot of money,
Right.
and I'm still living at Boost VC. So when you come, we might have to live in Boost VC for some time.
Right. Yeah.
So, but then it all worked out. I still remember when we first came here, we just have 1 month's cash in the bank. So I was like, we'll figure out where we are going to live after like 1 more month.
Right.
But then suddenly, then some funding came in, and
Yeah. It always happens that way. You have 1 month of funding, and
Yeah.
then suddenly something happens.
suddenly
and then,
something happens.
No, that's awesome. I think that's a pretty good note to end here. Thanks for coming over and telling us your story.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Totally.